Grandpa said that person is the culprit.
During the funeral of my husband, who died in an accident, my 5-year-old grandchild suddenly pointed at someone. That person turned pale and started trembling. He tried to laugh it off, saying,
"It's just a child's words. Don't believe it."
The relatives, who had been murmuring, gradually quieted down, and the atmosphere began to calm. However, my grandchild had a mysterious power, and I was convinced that her words were true. "I will uncover the truth for my husband's sake." With that vow in my heart, I began to move to uncover the truth. I married my husband Samuel when I was 29, and for the next 35 years, I supported him as a housewife while he ran his company. We were blessed with 2 children and had a harmonious family life. Our eldest daughter, Scarlett, became a teacher, fulfilling her dream, and married a colleague named Owen. They lived far away and were raising their 5-year-old daughter, Layla. Our son, Matthew, had also started living on his own a few years ago and was working as Samuel's assistant, aiming to become the next president of the company. Samuel and I adored our granddaughter Layla and looked forward to talking to her on video calls. That day, too, we received a call from Scarlett.
"Grandpa, Grandma, I played with water at kindergarten today."
Layla, who appeared on the smartphone screen, was smiling brightly and looked very happy. We enjoyed talking with her for a while, but eventually, she got bored and started playing with her toys. Then Scarlett spoke in a hushed voice.
"Dad, Mom, I have something to discuss."
She prefaced her words with,
"Don't think I'm joking."
And continued,
"It seems Layla has a sixth sense."
According to Scarlett, when they passed by the accident site, Layla would tearfully say, "It must have hurt," to seemingly nothing, or she would seriously talk about seeing a grandmother on her kindergarten friend's back. Scarlett was bewildered, feeling as if Layla was conversing with spirits. Yes, pure-hearted young children might really be able to see spirits, I said, and Samuel gently advised.
"Scarlett, there's no need to worry. Let's just watch over her quietly."
Hearing those words, Scarlett seemed relieved and nodded, her expression easing. I deeply loved Samuel, who was always calm and wise. Every day spent with him was very happy. However, a little while after that,
"I'll be late tonight,"
he said as he left the house, but he never came back, no matter how late it got. Worried, I called Matthew, who was acting as his secretary, around midnight. "Matthew, sorry for calling so late. Samuel hasn't come home yet. Was he at a work dinner or something?" I asked, and I heard the sound of pages turning.
"Dad said he was going out for drinks with Mateo tonight."
Mateo was a classmate from Samuel's college days and could be called his best friend. I knew him too, and we were close as families. "Oh, if that's the case, then it's fine."
"You know, Mom's birthday is coming up soon, right? Dad said he was going to discuss a present with Mateo. So, I don't think you need to worry."
Hearing Matthew's cheerful laugh, I felt relieved. It wasn't unusual for Samuel to have a lively conversation with Mateo and stay out late. Then, I guess I don't need to worry. Let's go to bed. Good night. I hung up the phone with Matthew and crawled into bed. However, I was later awakened by the ringing of my phone echoing through the room. Groggily, I checked the time. It was 3:30 a.m. Wondering what was going on, I answered the call.
This is the police. Your husband has been in an accident and is now in the hospital.
I felt the blood drain from my body and immediately jumped up, heading to the hospital by taxi. Samuel, what happened? I desperately prayed for Samuel's safety in my heart. When I arrived at the hospital and rushed into the room, a harsh reality awaited me. Despite the doctor's best efforts, Samuel had already passed away. No, it can't be. Samuel, open your eyes. As I clung to Samuel's body, crying out, the police approached me. According to them, Samuel had been found by a passerby at the bottom of a long staircase. It was dark, with no one around, and there were no security cameras near the stairs. They concluded that it was likely an accident caused by slipping on the stairs. Samuel had broken his neck from the fall, which led to his death. Even as I listened, I couldn't comprehend it, feeling as if I were in a dream. After the police left, I calmed down a bit and called Matthew first. However, it was early morning, and I couldn't reach him, so I left a message about Samuel's death. Next, I contacted Scarlett, who answered the phone in shock and said,
I'll be there right away.
She hurried to the hospital. I held Samuel's increasingly cold hand until they arrived. In the morning, Scarlett, who had come from afar, hugged me while trembling. As we cried together, Matthew, who had listened to the voicemail, also arrived.
This can't be true. Why, Dad?
He stood in shock for a while, before bursting into tears. We mourned in front of Samuel's still body for a long time. However, we couldn't stay like that forever, so we began to prepare for the funeral. Relatives, company associates, and Samuel's best friend, Matteo, attended the funeral.
My deepest condolences.
Matteo, dressed in mourning clothes and with tears in his eyes, approached me, who was exhausted.
That day, I was drinking with Samuel until late. When we left the bar, he said he would walk home since it was nearby. If only I had stopped him and made him take a taxi.
He spoke with regret, biting his lip, and I could only look down and wipe my tears, unable to respond.
That day, Samuel.
What?
No, it's nothing. I'll be going now.
Matteo started to say something but then left. Then, a company associate of Samuel whispered to me. They had seen Samuel and Matteo arguing at the bar on the day of the accident. However, before I could process this information, the funeral began. Suddenly, Layla, who was sitting on Scarlett's husband Owen's lap, shouted,
Grandpa says that person is the culprit.
Layla pointed with a determined expression at Matteo, who looked shocked. The sudden event caused murmurs among the attendees.
Is she joking?
Even for a child, that's too inappropriate.
It's just a child's words. Don't take it seriously.
He said with a troubled face, and the surroundings gradually calmed down. Layla was taken outside by Owen.
But Grandpa is really angry. He said he will never forgive him.
Layla continued to point at Matteo until she left the venue. I noticed that the person she was pointing at was pale and trembling. Although the funeral resumed, I couldn't get Layla's words out of my head. After the funeral ended peacefully, I was looking up at Samuel's portrait alone, and Layla's words, "That person is the culprit," kept echoing in my mind. I couldn't help but think that Samuel had been deliberately killed by someone, not by accident. I will uncover the truth for sure. Holding Samuel's portrait to my chest, I resolved to uncover the truth and clear his name. A week later, I was in a certain place. I called out to someone who seemed irritated and was searching for something from behind. "What are you looking for?" Startled, Matthew looked at me standing at the entrance of the room.
Mom? Why are you in my house?
I showed him the key I was holding, as he looked agitated. "I gave you this apartment with Samuel. It's only natural to have a spare key, right?"
Even so, it's inappropriate to enter a house where someone lives alone without permission. I have my privacy too.
Matthew said, flustered, but I ignored him and continued. "More importantly, you were looking for something, weren't you? What were you searching for, turning the closet upside down like that?"
It's none of your business, Mom!
"Is this what you were looking for?" When I held up a plastic bag, Matthew's face turned pale. He then approached me with a terrifying expression.
Give it back!
At that moment, Scarlett and Owen burst in through the front door, and Owen restrained Matthew. Owen, being a physical education teacher with martial arts experience, made it impossible for Matthew to escape, no matter how much he struggled.
Why are Scarlett and the others here too? Let me go!
Scarlett looked at the bag I was holding and asked,
Matthew? Why were you hiding just clothes so carefully?
Inside the plastic bag were a black hoodie, black pants, brand new sneakers, and gloves.
What does it matter? Did you rummage through my house without permission?
Matthew shouted loudly while being held down by Owen.
So, the culprit Layla mentioned that day was you, Matthew?
It was Mateo, wasn't it?
No, from Layla's position, she could see you behind Mateo. Layla was pointing at you. You realized that too, didn't you?
Yes, at that time, the person trembling in Layla's line of sight was Matthew.
You took Samuel's life, didn't you, Matthew?
When I said this quietly, he laughed.
What? Are you going to believe Layla's delusions? There's no way I would do such a thing.
I suspected you and immediately searched the house. And I found these clothes carefully stored. These are what you wore during the crime, aren't they?
What? What are you talking about? Don't make things up.
Matthew continued to deny my questions vehemently.
I know the manager of this apartment. He saw you coming back late at night wearing these clothes on the night Samuel died.
I had talked to the apartment manager. He remembered and told me.
Now that you mention it, Matthew.
I was just jogging.
Then what about this?
Next, I showed him a video on my phone. It showed the view from a car driving through the town late at night.
Did you check the dash cam without permission too?
At the time of the accident, you parked at a coin parking near those stairs and returned about 30 minutes later. What business did you have there in the middle of the night?
When I asked, looking straight at Matthew, he averted his eyes and fell silent.
I spoke with Mateo. He said that on that day, Samuel confided in him about his troubled relationship with you.
According to him, Matthew would flaunt his status as the CEO's son at the company and treat other employees arrogantly. However, his work as a secretary was sloppy, and Samuel often scolded him, Samuel kept this from me and Scarlett to avoid worrying us. On the day of the funeral, Mateo tried to tell me about this, but decided to keep quiet, thinking it was unrelated to the accident. He also mentioned that he got heated while discussing Matthew's upbringing, which was likely the argument Samuel's colleagues witnessed.
Matthew, I'll ask you again. Did you take Samuel's life?
As Scarlett, Owen, and I watched with bated breath, Matthew glared at me with hatred.
What if I deny it?
I'll take these clothes to the police for investigation. They should find some evidence.
Matthew nodded and sighed deeply.
Yes, I did it.
His motive was incredibly selfish. While Samuel was usually kind, he was very strict at work. Matthew resented Samuel for constantly nagging and trying to guide him.
If Dad were gone, I'd inherit the estate and become the next CEO. I realized I had nothing to lose.
Matthew's half-smiling face looked like a demon to me.
Mom, if you keep quiet, I'll ensure you live comfortably. You wouldn't want the family to be known as criminals, right?
Yes, that might be true. Matthew smiled smugly at my words.
I'm glad you understand, Mom. So, give me those clothes. If I dispose of them today, all evidence will be gone.
At that moment, we heard police sirens approaching.
What? No way. How?
I had Scarlett call them.
Convinced that Matthew was the culprit, I had asked Scarlett to contact the police before entering his house.
Why? You agreed with me, didn't you?
I never intended to forgive you.
No, it's not too late. You can still deceive the police.
I approached Matthew, grabbed his shoulders, and looked him straight in the eyes.
I will never forgive you. I vowed to clear Samuel's name. Matthew, we are cutting ties with you. Surrender and atone for your sins.
Ugh!
The police arrived and took Matthew away, while Scarlett, Owen, and I watched silently. Later, a reinvestigation was conducted, and I handed over the clothes Matthew had hidden to the police. The fibers from Samuel's clothes found on the gloves were the decisive evidence, and Matthew was found guilty. He confessed his selfish motives to the police, shocking everyone. Scarlett and I, as his family, demanded a severe sentence for Matthew. He will be in prison for a while, and even when he gets out, no one will help him. I no longer consider Matthew, who hid his terrifying true nature, to be my son. Meanwhile, Samuel's trusted subordinate took over his company. Thanks to Scarlett and Owen inviting me to live with them, I now live with them. I will live for Layla's growth and move forward without shame for Samuel. In the photo I gazed at, my beloved Samuel was smiling with the same smile I loved.
How was this story? Please subscribe to our channel. See you in the next video.